Well, here's a few news articles. This is a picture of one of the 13 root DNS servers. Of course, there are many servers for each one, adding up to something like 800 total. But anyway, it's sort of interesting to see. A one-unit server here, Google Global Cache. This is apparently the backup one, so they put Band-Aids on it to sort of indicate that. And anyway, sort of fun to see. Hundreds of servers like that work together to form the root of DNS. The Wired has a report saying that the army of hackers for Ukraine is doing an awful lot of attacks, which is reasonable. They are mostly DDoS attacks, but not all that different than what Anonymous did nearly a decade ago, attacking everybody with DDoS attacks, attacking payment services and government departments and so on. And they also have made a sort of bug bounty situation where you can find vulnerabilities and report them to Ukraine, and they have been finding many of them. More than 3,000 reports. Leaked databases, login credentials, remote code execution vulnerabilities, and so on. And they're passing them on to Ukrainian authorities. And it's not entirely clear what they're doing with them, but presumably taking things down in Ukraine. Taking things down in Russia to try to support the war. And, of course, the other side is doing the same thing. My browser has suddenly decided to run extremely slow. But anyway, this hybrid tab, which I might make it to and I might not, depending on what's going on. Okay, this hybrid war in Ukraine is a Microsoft report, and it's pointing out what the Russians are doing to the Ukrainians, which is, of course, what you would expect. They've been taking down 6 separate nation-state actors, have done 237 operations, destructive attacks, and strongly correlated and timed with their kinetic operations. So they'll launch a cyber attacks against a broadcasting company and then use a missile attack to take down the TV tower and so on. So this is how military experts have always said cyber attacks should be used, like air cover, to coordinate with direct kinetic attacks. For example, if you attack a power grid, you can take it down and that will hurt people, but before long they'll fix it and bring it back up, so it doesn't really do a lot of long-term damage. The thing that they talk about is you would take down a power grid to turn off their radar, and then you'd fly in planes and they can't detect the planes. So it looks like the Russians are doing that sort of thing in Ukraine, according to Microsoft. I was surprised to see this from Reuters. As you know, Elon Musk's bid to buy Twitter was approved, and there was already an all-hands meeting yesterday or the day before with everyone at Twitter announcing this and helping them understand what it would mean for them. One of those being apparently their stock options will not be worth anything because there won't be any more stock for sale. But here's people claiming that they do not think Elon Musk will buy Twitter. I've seen other people say this, and the point is he has done many goofy things like this before. He pledged to end world hunger for $6 billion a while ago, promised it, and then just flaked out and didn't do it. He vowed to set up a peanut brittle company, and so on. And the other thing that is perhaps pressuring him is that since he did this, the Twitter stock price still didn't go up to where you would expect it to go if people are sure believe he's really going to do it. And Tesla fell by about 20% in a day because the only way he can raise this much money is borrowing on his Tesla stock. And if that places Tesla at risk because it's such a large amount of money. So all along, all the serious financial experts I listen to have been saying, this is insane. There's no way Twitter is worth this much money. He can't really afford it. He can't really have any idea what to do with it that makes any sense. It's like a senseless vanity purchase that doesn't make any financial sense. And so many people are expecting to flake out. And they say he'd have to pay $1 billion fine for flaking out. But if Tesla came back, he'd make a lot more than that. So anyway, Lord only knows what he's going to do. But he posted this on Twitter, which seems to rather strongly suggest that the left-wing people that are all freaking out are probably justified, because this is his pro-Joe Rogan thing, and he seems to have taken, I think this is the woman responsible for taking Trump off Twitter. I don't know for sure, but she's a very famous Twitter's top lawyer, is in another article here. The woman that decided to take Trump off Twitter and responsible for Twitter content moderation, and probably the target of Elon Musk's ire, because he says his whole purpose here is to stop the content moderation. So he has this meme of mocking her, saying she's contradicting herself and making foolish decisions about Joe Rogan. And so this does rather suggest what everybody is assuming, which is the main thing Elon's going to do is let the right-wingers back in. And in fact, many liberal people have left, many right-wing accounts have come back, and everybody expects within a few weeks Trump will be back. The only reason Trump is not back now is because Twitter hasn't taken control yet, and also Trump is pretending he's going to pump up Truth Social. But he never has, and I think he never will. Yeah, that's right. Well, that's exactly the question. You're asking about Gamergate. All the sort of calm people have been saying that you need some content moderation and so on. However, there were some egregious failures of content moderation, like they blocked accounts for publishing anything about Hunter Biden's laptop, I think, and about the possibility that the coronavirus was escaped from a lab in Wuhan. And it turned out that both of those things were either true or reasonable, and certainly not so false as to deserve canceling your account for promoting them, which is what they did. So certainly Twitter has made some bad calls on content moderation, and nobody really knows what Musk is going to do. But everybody on the right assumes he will let them in. Yes, of course. Oh, Gamergate was insane. Gamergate was really messed up. That was just a mob, and that's what people are afraid of. If he removes the content moderation, we'll just have mobs like that. And apparently, every time he criticizes somebody, all his followers mob up and abuse them, and there's death threats and everything. That's why people are concerned that Elon Musk himself is sort of a troublesome treat. And the thing is, the harshest interpretation of this I saw, perhaps accurate, is what's really, and they asked right after this, they say, why would you do this? You're making an executive at the company you just bought the target of harassment and threats. And Ollie John Fast doesn't understand why he's doing it, but Kara Swisher, who is a lot more experienced in high tech, knows what's going on is, in order to make balance the budget, Elon Musk is going to have to lay off a ton of people, or he's going to have to be obnoxious enough to push them out. So he would probably like to push all the left-wing liberal activist types to just quit. So this is probably a way of harassing people to encourage them to quit, so he doesn't have to lay them off. Anyway, we'll be living through the interesting world of Elon Musk taking over Twitter, or maybe not taking over Twitter. And I'm going to stop the news there.